I know definitely when you are listening, you will be feeling elated, you will be feeling nice, but after that, you may miss those good lines. Sir, please.
I will be discussing with you today particularly about the debt crisis in the global context in general and European context in particular. To go to this, I have to take you back to 1996. Why I go back to 1996? Because that is the year when the germ of this present crisis was born and identified. It was not only born, but it was identified. There was a famous person you must have heard called Alan Greenspan. You have heard of Alan Greenspan? He was the Federal Reserve Chief of USA. Those are the days when now you see IT revolution. Those are the days when IT revolution was at the peak. Now IT revolution is declining. It was at the peak, and Alan Greenspan predicted world is going for a bubble, but there is an unreasonable exuberance of the world on a theme which doesn't produce. And that was 4 years before the IT bubble burst, the dot-com, so-called dot-com bubble burst. Alan Greenspan identified the problem, and it really took 4 years for IT bubble to burst, and in 2000, the world went for the last shrinkage. Whatever investment was there on account of IT and in IT, that started shrinking, and there was a Nasdaq failure, and world had a shiver. It had almost a shiver. The same Alan Greenspan had predicted it is the cause of that unreasonable exuberance. He created an instrument. All of you are commercial management students? Yes. So you will understand this much better. That's something called Greenspan put. So what is that Greenspan put? Whoever will overtrade, Greenspan will pay you. He wanted America to expand. And so what happened? When like nowadays they are telling in India the losses are nationalized but profits are personal. So that is what Alan Greenspan started in USA. He wanted growth of USA. But growth of whom in USA? Growth of the business in USA. And whichever bank went for overtrading, Alan Greenspan will reach out by an instrument called Greenspan put. Nowadays, to know this word is not difficult. You just give a Google command and you can get what is Alan Greenspan put. Put you know, put option and call option. You must have heard of these two. So put is a writing of an option. So he gave that if index makes a loss, the put value increases, so they are compensated. And if index makes a gain, doesn't matter, they in any case get the profit, isn't it? So in any case, the banks will not lose thanks to Greenspan put. So banks became very aggressive because when I have no loss, my loss, when I am not dead, I will be like that Baswasura. I try to kill even the person who has given me the benediction. So similarly, when they know that they will have no loss, they become very aggressive. And when they became aggressive, a particular thing happened in the USA and it got the world conducted. What was that? People started living beyond their last state of bank. The people started living beyond it because the bank went on giving loans. And one of the greatest loan disaster happened around 2007 and which was known as subprime crisis. Have you heard of subprime crisis? Subprime crisis, what happened? Home loans were distributed to any American and whatever American will own 30 years hence, they discounted that on him and gave it as a home loan. And every household became over-leveraged. Over-leveraged means whatever is the disposable income in USA, they have 156% of the disposable income as their credit. The other day I was telling in another college in a similar seminar that we had an Indian philosopher called Charba who had told Japat Jive Sukham Jive Runam Krutva Dutam Jive. That will live happily as long as you live. If you don't have money, borrow money and take heed. As I told, he had told borrow money and take heed, not take wife. But what American did, they borrowed money and drank it up. So the money was available, they never thought of swinging their future income will be taken as credit. This is called house leveraging. Famous house leveraging, and everybody became heavily indebted. And why all this indebtedness, retail indebtedness, why it got confused? It got confused with the investment bankers. First bankers. And when bankers, they became overstocked with loans, what did? They started finding out innovative instruments to hand it over to investment bankers. Three instruments were found. You must have you heard of asset-backed security? One is called asset-backed security, the other is called mortgage-backed securities. If it is, say, loan against car is an asset, backed by that asset, you give a loan and make that loan into a security, paper, and distribute that paper, pull that paper, securitize that paper, make it into pieces and sell it to investment bankers in pieces. So what was yesterday's loan became today's market instrument, and this was famously called securitization. There are asset-backed securities, and when it is housing, they are called mortgage-backed securities. So up to that it was okay. When America did this, entire Europe also did this. Up to that it was okay. When this happened, they told how to again become big. Then they went for three kinds of further, what is famously known as credit derivatives. The first kind is called credit default swap. Credit default swap means if I make give a credit and the borrower doesn't pay, it becomes a default. Delinquent credit, and when delinquent credit, instead of going for foreclosure, what I say, I take a cover that if there is a default, I will swap the default with another bank. So for that one, that becomes a new loan, or for that investment banker, that becomes a new loan. So credit default swap became one instrument, and it went on changing hand. If it became default with X, it went to Y. If it became default with Y, it went to Z. The fact that whether underlying exists or not, that was not known, and credit default swap went down. Then there is a second instrument which was famously called credit spread swap. You know, there are two things. There is a bid rate, there is a ask rate. What do you mean by bid rate? Suppose I got a mango. Which I don't need. I have plenty of mango. I got some surplus mango, I don't need. So I become a don't need seller because I don't need, I want to sell it. So since I don't need it, I will not have a incentive to bargain for very high price because I don't need it. But I am cutting some mango from my own food. So I need something else also. Suppose I need coconut. So I want to sell some mango, and with that money I buy coconut. So am I a no need seller now? I am not a no need seller. I am a needy seller, and somebody is a needy buyer. Then what will happen? I will put a rate, and the other fellow will put a rate. When the two rates strike, the transaction is made. This is called bid and ask. I go for asking, and you go for bidding. For bid and ask, then what? The transaction takes place. And the spread between the initial spread between bid and ask is called bid-ask spread. You must write this bid-ask spread. Okay? This is called bid-ask spread. Suppose you sell a land. When you sell a land, you have a utility for the sale of the land. You want the land to be sold for 1 crore rupees. Will the buyer get the land for 1 crore rupees? To get a land of 1 crore rupees, buyer has to pay stamp duty, buyer has to pay brokerage, and buyer has to pay something if the land is enclosed to remove the encroachment, and these are all called friction costs. In commerce, these are called friction costs. So the buyer pays say 1 crore 20 lakh rupees for the seller to get 1 crore rupees. So what is the bid-ask spread? Because of the friction cost 20 lakh rupees is the spread between buyer price and seller. The buyer will like to give the benefit of only 1 crore because he gets 1 crore, but seller will the seller will like to give the benefit of 1 crore, but how much benefit buyer will like to get? 1 crore 20 lakh. So that is if this lakh is not available in the buying, then there will be dissatisfaction, isn't it? The buyer will think that he has been cheated, though that is the natural cost. Seller has sold at a reasonable price, but buyer gets at a, and when this transaction repeated, if buyer then it becomes again a seller. Then 1 crore 20 will become 1 crore 45. So if there is a series of trades, then what will happen? From the base price, the ultimate price will become very high. So when bid ask trades are swap, what will happen? The fixed cost in the market will go up, and a thing which would ordinarily cost 1 rupee, it will actually hit 10 crores. And this is called asset bubble. Could you follow? A small asset creates a big bubble. And when the bubble will burst, what will ultimately got 1 rupee? Not 10 crores. So 9 crores, that's 10 crores minus 1 rupee goes to what? Goes down the trade. That is how the market fixed cost goes up. This is the second transaction. And the third transaction is called credit linked notes. What is that? That is a credit. What I do, I link it to it. I define the credit into a note, and the note I sell to the investors. It so happened that many institutions in the world got sold because of this note. So many companies in the world, British companies, French companies, Italian companies, more so USA, Mexico, Canadian companies, they started trading. Before that, in 1997, a famous thing happened called ACAC, but there is another meaning to C even in 1997. C is called Southeast Asian crisis. All the so-called Asiatic tigers, they produced a lot of goods, sold it in the export market for trading. So sold it in the export market, it was forfeited. There is a particular instrument called forfeiting and factoring. It was forfeited, not forfeited, forfeited, FAI, forfeited, and the forfeiting was never realized. In the process, a person called George Soros came, and what he did, he created havoc in the currency market, and ringgit, baht, Thai baht, ringgit, and ringgit of Malaysia, and Taiwan currency, all these currencies they crashed. About 70%, 80% they crashed. And in the process, Southeast Asian tiger, instead of roaring, they didn't even bark, what bark, they didn't even mew, and the world took notice. Even after that, world didn't take Southeast Asia anymore. It happened in Southeast Asia. So then Europe was moving very. Then in 1998, what happened? For the first time, the dot-com boom collapsed, and all of a sudden America woke up. Right? Something is happening. So they reduced the interest rate. So what is calling reducing the interest rate? All of your commencement, I'll give you a small example. I usually do not make presentation. If I talk in step one, maybe I can talk a little more to you. So that's why, because otherwise if I give presentation, your eyes will be towards only PowerPoint. So that's why I rarely use presentations. So, if you have got 100 rupees bond, which has got 10% coupon, you look at it as a 100 rupee bond having earning capacity of 10 rupees. But I look at it as 1 rupee earning capacity increases or arrests 10. Do you follow? For getting 1 rupee current money, I have to put in jail 10 rupees. Okay? Now take the example. Interest rate comes down by 1%. So 10% interest becomes 9%. Now what happens? For 1 rupee current income, I have to increase in how much? 11 rupee 10 paisa. Isn't it? I have to increase in 11 rupee 10 paisa. So my 10 rupee will now look like how much? My 10 rupee in jail will look like, will shake hands with 11 rupee 10 paisa. So my 10 rupee appreciated by how much? 11%. Could you follow? So 1% fall in interest rate appreciates my thing in go down or thing in jail by 11%. This is called, what is this called? This is called credit leverage. By interest rate, this is famous called Malkiel theorem. In your commerce, this is called Malkiel theorem. So when 1% interest falls down, the asset bubbles 11%. Are you clear? And similarly, when 1% interest goes up,
using 9 rupee 10 paisa to get same 1 rupee. So my 9 rupee 10 paisa now takes adds with 10 rupees. So my 10 rupees falls by how much? Almost 9%. Would you follow? The asset depreciates. So when interest rate goes up, asset depreciates. When interest rate comes down, asset appreciates. That's why our LIC without doing anything can show good performance if interest rate comes down. Because there are a lot of assets in the godown, and when interest rate goes up, they start trying. But government is not doing anything. When I get profit, I pat myself. When I make loss, I blame the government. And the same thing happening, whatever should happen, same thing happening in Europe, same thing happening everywhere. So when interest rate was falling down, everybody's asset was going up, they were getting from that asset. But when interest rate again came up, the asset is already depleted. So it started earning less. So there was a credit trap. This is what is called credit trap. This is the currency depreciation leading to credit. You might have heard a famous theorem that is called Fisher's theorem. You know Fisher's theorem? That current interest rate, current exchange rate, forward exchange rate, and inflation, they have to be in equilibrium in the world. If they are not in equilibrium, this is called Fisher equality. If the four are not in equilibrium, what will be in distress? That way, metamorphosis of the world, all usual butterflies come from caterpillar, but here butterflies will become caterpillars. So if Fisher equilibrium doesn't hold good. So friends, that's why world started spinning because of this unexpected phenomena. They thought that one Greenspan on latter day, one Bernanke, heard of Bernanke? Bernanke is the current Federal Reserve Chief of USA who is determining the economic lot of the world. You know, you might have heard about some big names in economics, in management, in finance. But nowadays, new names are coming up as again telling in another institution that gone are the days of growth economics. Now the day has come which is called degrowth economics. Do you follow? How to bring you down safely. So, previously people were thinking how to grow, but they were never thinking how to come down, scale down, degrowth. Now the world is now experiencing an economics called degrowth economics. Now there is an act which was recently passed in USA, which is called Frank-Dodd Act. You give in Google this Frank-Dodd Act of commerce and economics. Frank-Dodd Act, it says how to degrow without too much of structure. Now the current day, the new paradigm has come and a new type of what phenomena. Greed has taken over the world and growth has almost undoubtedly made everybody to find out new innovations without thinking the danger hiding below the image. So friends, now after giving this world of peripheral idea, you know what happened in 2007 when it reached 2007? Even then, people are not understood that something dangerous is happening, and when very things went down, then American government came, President Bush failed. In 1990, they had already seen LTCM had failed, but they had not taken the lesson. LTCM, you have heard that the famous story, LTCM, long-term capital management, was a big hedge fund. Who can give a, even India is now very big, but LTCM at that time could have given a check and purchase India. So much was the asset of LTCM. You know, there are companies in the world which can give from their profit a check and buy even today, so mighty global economics. Of course, you be assured that by 2035 story will be different. We will be number 3 in the world. Simply not because we work hard or Manmohan Singh will become Superman or Rahul Gandhi will become somebody or Arun Jaitley will become somebody. This is because of all of you. You know, 13 million of you are joining Indian workforce every year. 13 million. And India's average population age is now 23, whereas America's population age is now 48, and Japan's 49, and China's 26, and England's 47. So this is the youth India which will make things happen, because we will have a hexagonal economic curve. What is hexagonal economic curve? Less of dependent people, less of children, more of working population. So this is called population dividend. And because of this population dividend, we are safe. Even if we do a budget, still our is 13 million and provide a cushion. And because now politics and economics they are decoupled, and that's why we are surviving despite all odds in our political system. So having said this, but same is not true of other countries. They have become cost structure. These so-called baby boomers, they are now occupying the top. Baby boomers means the people who have earned money, provide a lot of people to their country, because now in Germany, if any lady has 10 children, she is called a heroic lady. Because they don't have population growth. So that's why now they have a crop structure. That means old age people are more in a crop. The top is heavy, bottom is small. Less children, no children. Middle is smaller, and that's why they are giving you H1 visa. Not that they are happy with you, that's why they are giving H1 visa. They don't have their middle to have their six packs. They take you in H1 visa and use you as cyber police. Could you follow? They want to have diversity policy because they have lost their population dividend. While India and China is having the population dividend at present. So having deprived of that dividend, now they have to be very careful about their economics, but they are fragile. They are debt management. Now I have told you about personal consumption, which has led to discounting of personal income and taking loan now so as to pay in future, which has led to asset bubbles. But now I tell you something about sovereign debt, which is the cause of European crisis. What is sovereign debt? You see, there are sovereign. India is having minus 4% of current account deficit. But doesn't matter. Our GDP grows at minimum 7.5% or 8%. So current account deficit gives rise to some growth. But there are countries whose current account deficit, like USA, current account deficit is also minus 4%. Growth is minus, current account is also minus. I am talking of current prices, not that purchasing power parity. There are two types of count. One is called purchasing power parity count, another is called current price count. So I am talking of current prices. So what happened? Their deficit, where does it confluence? It goes to China. China has got a current account surplus of 10%. So all the deficit they confluence in China. They go to China. So China getting it, China should be happy. But why China has also got a problem? These people have deficit, they have problem. Deficit, no growth, they have problem. China has got surplus, they have also problem. What is the problem of China? Because China, they are too patriotic. India is not so patriotic, but that has come to our head. Because we are not so patriotic, we don't bother whether onion is exported or onion is retained in the country. Whether sugar is exported or sugar is retained in the country, we don't bother. We consume whatever comes our way. Because of that, we are a person, we are good consumers. Domestic, even if we don't export, we can consume everything. 204 million tons of food we can consume, or 235 million tons to produce. So only we are left with 31 million tons to sell somewhere, and we sell by way of mango, by way of wheat, by way of something. We sell somewhere. But China, they take gratuity, all the dog and everything they take, and all good things they want to export and make a lot of money. Okay? So there is no internal consumption cushion. And when America doesn't have money, how can they import? Do you follow? They can't import. So like what happened to Southeast Asia, same thing has happened to China. Southeast Asia, what happened? They were only exporting country. How can Singapore be rich when they are an island? How can Japan be rich when there are Hokkaido and Shikoku, poor islands? Poor islands, they are the second richest country in the world. How? Because of export. Are they consumers? They are not consumers. When nobody consumes, if nobody also buys outside, what will happen to their economy? Economy will sink, isn't it? So India has got our population was a bigger population that is what we were got during Indian Johnson days or in the past. But now we are a market. Beautiful, because we will be self-sufficient in food grain and we have got money to buy. People have got some money to buy, and thanks to Robin Pattanaik also had negative price at 2 rupees. So no transport, so insurance against societization, so people can wait to grow. But this is not happening in Europe. There is a democracy, there is a Eurozone, so people are allowed to fend for themselves. Now I come to a particular country called Greece. Okay? Because that is the biggest story, isn't it? The European story. So Greece, what they did? They lived beyond their means for ages. Why? Because they had a rich national heritage. Everybody was willing. Olympic had started from that country. A lot of olive trees and a lot of Herodotus, Thucydides, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Seneca, Critias. So big names. So they will live in the glory, and because of that glory, like somebody was Maharaja yesterday, today he may not have money, but if he goes to the bank to borrow, bank will immediately have Maharaja, isn't it? So similarly, Greece has come, so everybody started giving Greece, particularly Germany, most importantly Germany, every country started giving loan to Greece. What Greece did? They took the loan, and did they construct industries? Did they construct agrarian belt? They had deficit and they lived like English people, they lived like their other counterparts like Nordic countries, they lived the Western-like style, but they didn't have any production. So, the sovereign debt accumulated. The sovereign debt can be squashed by 2 ways. India also creates a lot of sovereign debt. This year we have 4 lakh crores of sovereign debt. On a gross basis, 3 lakh on net basis. The numbers I am telling you, does it make any sense to you? 4 lakh crores. We have borrowed India this year 4 lakh. Last budget we had borrowed 4 lakh crores on gross basis. Why 3 lakh crores in net basis? Because we have also repaid interest and some principal. So 4 lakh crores we have borrowed and 3 lakh. So when that is net basis we have borrowed. So to our debt is added 3 lakh crores more debt. But why we are not shaky? Though we have added 3 lakh, our GDP has grown up by say 5 lakh crores. So, our 3 lakh crore can be repaid by our children and grandchildren. Because we have provided for them little more of capital creation. But nothing of this sort happened in Greece. Sovereign debt increased because they didn't have sufficient production. The debt accumulation became bigger, and their Greece currency doesn't have the confidence of America. Same thing happened in America also because of this asset-backed security and mortgage-backed securities and CDOs, that credit default swap, etc. Since USA paid 0 or 1% interest, people put their money there. But India pays 7, 8, 9, 10, sometimes 12% interest. But no, how many foreigners bring money to India? You say our FDI and FI, now FI is negative. Foreign institutional investment negative. FDI cannot be negative because it cannot be withdrawn once product. Not withdrawn, so that's why it is positive at least. So, in all the European countries, they didn't have the strength of USA for attracting foreign money. So what happened? All foreign money went to USA. So USA started now. What USA is doing? They found the dollar is now 52 rupees, so they are printing dollars. And instead of issuing IOU notes, what they are issuing? Their currency itself, the legal tender itself, behaves like their credit instrument. And people are interested to put their money in dollars. Because the legal tender itself acts like an IOU note. Okay? Could you follow? Like our governor said, Reserve Governor, I promise to pay the bearer some of 100 rupees or 1,000 rupees. Similarly, America also said same thing, and that will say legal tender, and that legal tender is a paid instrument for them, and they accumulate money. So, America will do that, but Europe, who will put money in Greece? Who will put money in Italy? Who will put money in only countries in Europe which are immune from this are Nordic countries. You have heard of Nordic countries? Which are the Nordic countries? Sweden, Finland, Norway, these are the countries, they are also Hadi countries, or Nordic countries. These are the countries which maintain, they have learned the lesson only when Merrill Lynch was sold out, such a big company like Merrill Lynch was sold out. If Merrill Lynch would have been bad after 7 days, it would have gone like $11. But it was bad just before 7 days, so it was purchased by Bank of America. Bank of America Because if you take poison, like fever, you have a blue patch here. So similar Bank of America has got a blue patch here, but they survive. But not if they would have delayed this by 7 days. Timing is of essence. If they would have delayed it, they would have gone like Lehman. They would have sunk. So in Nordic countries, they learned from that, and so Norway, Finland, and Sweden, they saved themselves by decoupling their debt, de-escalating their debt. But countries like Greece, Italy, particularly Greece, Italy, they were the perpetual borrowers and spenders. But they suffered. Why Germany suffered? Because Germany was like that. The borrowers suffer. When borrowers suffer, the lender will also suffer. So Germany is corrected. You know, every company in Germany is like a stock exchange. They are highly horizontally. There was an act in USA in 1999, it was abolished. The act was introduced in 1930 after Great Depression. That famous act was called Glass-Steagall Act. Because of that Glass-Steagall Act, this credit growth like this was impossible because banks cannot do any other trade than banking. Like Schumpeter banking, they call it that banks can take deposit of money only for the purpose of lending and investment, not for selling mutton or making cars. Now banks can do it because Glass-Steagall Act was abolished. But in Germany, what happened? America was lamenting Glass-Steagall Act was abolished because their banks or their financial institutions were big, or their General Motors or Ford or Chrysler, which were big, they could not do diversified business, so they didn't have economic cushion. Whereas in Germany, whether it be Group, Dimag or any company, they were all highly horizontal and vertically integrated. Because of that, each company was like a stock exchange. The DAX, which is the index of Germany, it was not good because every company is exchange by itself, like in India, State Bank of India itself is a stock exchange. If you buy State Bank of India share, you almost buy India's portfolio. Because State Bank of India has got almost everything in it. Every company's risk is absorbed in State Bank of India, every company's profit is also absorbed in State Bank of India. Highly diversified. So similarly, Germany had this, so Germany thought that companies are cushioned, so the sovereign, they could be very risk prone and they lend to all these companies. Now what happened? When Greece is de-escalated, the great fear is that Germany may also sink. Because Germany as lender will sink. USA doesn't have much exposure on Greece because they are not such a big pool to have this. Not South Korea, not Japan. These three countries do not have big exposure. But the biggest exposure is that of Germany. And we typically got USA has got exposure. For Italian de-escalation, USA will have exposure. But fortunately, these are all sovereign debts, not retail debts like USA. USA I told they were asset-backed security and mortgage-backed security, household debts. But in these countries, the great crisis is not because of household debts. And though it is not of household debts, in USA now, thanks to Obama, though Obama was despised to begin with, he acted with a lot of patience. And what he has done, the household debt ratio from 156% he has brought down to 146%. Now, what does 146% mean? Whatever is American household's disposable income, 156% of that disposable income was that debt. Now that debt has come down to 146%, and overall American household debt has come down by 4 points. And they do not measure the peak parameter from a baseline, that is what we call ordinate and abscissa. They don't measure from abscissa, they measure from the trend line. You know, USA coordinate system, economic coordinate system is different from the world. They measure from the trend, because you know, hand sales, for example, it will grow every year. So will you find the growth with about 1960 or you will find growth with about 2011? You will find out 2011. So you take 2011 as the base year, isn't it? Rolling base year. America takes every year as the rolling base year. They call it a trend-based growth. Growth above the trend. Okay? But in Europe, they have got a base year system. So that's why they pat themselves when they grow with reference to a very historical base. Because of that, what has happened? European de-escalation of household debt, whatever it is, It is not as rapid as Obama's USA. Obama is going to be elected for the second time, not because of he is very focused. No one else had thought this way, the way he had thought, because his competitors, they have no clue how to have a degrowth in economic level. That's why he showed to the world Dodd-Frank Act, which I request you to read. The next 10 years of world trade and commerce will be governed by this Dodd-Frank Act. So, in Eurozone, no such act was there, except as I told you, the exception is Nordic country. And another country which suffered because of Greece is Turkey. It is part Asia, part Europe. It suffered because it had, thanks to Kamala Harris, they had established a very good virtuous economic ecosystem, and they tried to lend around their neighbors rather than diversifying it around the world. Now that's why a new term has come now in the world, debt term. They call it Beirut to Singapore. Have you heard of Beirut to Singapore? You know, Beirut, this side, in the west Beirut, and in the east Singapore. This belt, there are three belts in the world for trade. One is called Anglo-Saxon belt, which comes from Isles of Man, that is South America, up to Beirut. This is called Anglo-Saxon. Gradually, USA is coming to shape thanks to sacrifices, de-escalation and degrowth and high liquidity order because of unitariness of USA administration and Latin America. Very good agricultural revival in the ABC countries. You know ABC countries? Argentina, Brazil and Chile, the base country. There is a very good agricultural revival from industry that should go to agriculture. But Europe, they can't have that except in Israel, in the rather in the Asiatic plate. Beyond Israel, where the Arabs and Kikutism, they had agricultural revival, and Nordic countries where they have agricultural revival. Rest of the world, they have already reached the saturation of agriculture. So they cannot de-escalate the trade by agricultural production. So they have de-escalated by finance and engineering only, and world is no longer building. That's why they have three options nowadays. One is to go for dismantling the euro. One option is to dismantle the euro. But the problem is that they are so high network that the parities and distribution of legal is next to impossible because it's hard to whatever is there a inequitable distribution, because many of those countries are in fact polarized in nuclear lines. They are political power and they are also polarized in you might have heard, since Charles cannot be king of England, he says, let my son be king of England, I will become king of Spain. You follow? They are so much intricately connected. The sovereigns are so intricately connected, so it will be very difficult to deprive anybody of its rights. And you know, America has owned 2 world wars, but America has never entered into any war except in Bin Laden. Wajib war. America has never entered into any war. The Europe is always in the thick of the war. What is the second option? Second option is like there was a plant protection team in USA PPT, and they went for past $700 billion bailout of AIG and GE, Merrill Lynch, etc. And then they went for almost 1.2 trillion bailout. Then how much bailout that was kept secret. So they had this kind of bailing out because others had pumped a lot of money into them and were encouraged in terms of currency confidence. So now Eurozone has lost its currency confidence. So they cannot increase their legal tender. They can't increase their currency. So what they have to do? They have to go for what is called portfolio within the Eurozone to help themselves. The country which has surplus, they have to fund the country which is deficit, like Greece or Italy, etc. But now Germany is afraid, they want certain rate of return. They want 4% rate of return. In India, 4% return are very high. But in Europe, 4% rate of return means it is giant. The rate of return is usually 1%, 2%. The maximum ever it was touched during the post crisis was 6%. So even Greece is prepared to take at 3%. But Germany is telling I want 4%. And difference between 3% 4%, I showed you 1% difference means 11%. Asset clause at lower responsibility. So Greece says that do you want us to surrender? That's why this option of bailing out is hanging in balance. This was a good option. What? Because of this interest rate negotiation, this is hanging in balance. The day interest rate negotiation will ultimately the IMF will subsidize the interest, and when they will right to recompense. You know what is right to recompense? What do you mean by right to recompense? Suppose there is an industry which has got partially back, then we write off some loans of the industry, but don't allow the owner to go for free. And when he earns profit, he will enjoy going stay in Hajj or hotels or fly in first class or business class. We keep a right of recompense as backers. That when you make profit, first 50% of your profit will be adjusted towards whatever sacrifice we have made. Then only after you repay all our sacrifices, then only you can go for further expenditure, after you will expansion or putting new people in the board. So these are called conditionality arising out of the right of recompense. So now Europe is exploring the possibility of right to recompense. That we sacrifice, IMF will give the subsidy, and that is the plant protection, and whatever plant protection IMF will give, IMF will retain the right to recompense to recover from them if they come back. But there is a big conditionality that in all those countries the government must change. The most important, the prime ministers or presidents must change, because they have mismanaged the country, so it has got a political connotation. Date has given rise to political connotation, but that has also happened in Greece. They change, ultimately the dictatorial president has to resign. And same thing is going to happen in India also, and same thing is going to happen in few other countries. As against that, in USA they had one formula. This is the third option being explored in Europe. What is the USA formula? Particularly after Arizona, California, and Nevada, what they did, that rates will have, there will be non-recourse rates. What does it mean, non-recourse? Suppose I have taken for housing, but I have got a good Mercedes car also. I defaulted in housing. That doesn't mean that bank can come and take away my Mercedes car. Whatever they get from housing only. Would you follow? No recourse to any other assets. So the all credits, if there are two types, one called PD, I got PD, probability of default, the other is loss given default, LGD. If internal interest rate come down, and asset price can go up. When asset price go up, loss given default becomes zero. But asset price will go up when? I just explained, when interest rate comes down. But now interest rate is going up. When interest rate goes up, PD becomes positive, and LGD also becomes, instead of zero, positive. Loss given default. This is called pro-cyclic condition of risk. So now our Reserve Bank of India has learned the lesson, and they are making rate in India anti-cyclical.